statement or no?
No.
Okay, cool. They talked about the response from practice being a little bit different from the loss at Kansas to the loss at Cincinnati. How did you go about structuring that to get the response you wanted from your team?
I just think more than anything, like what wins games is fundamentals, and fundamentals are guard the basketball, block out, get back in transition, don't turn the ball over, go to the offensive glass. I mean, all the things that are the tenets of winning. So I think for us, putting a tremendous focus on those things is important. You know, oftentimes what happens is when things go well, I think there can be times where your players look at it and say, well, we're winning, that means everything is good. And to me, I think from a coaching standpoint, you look at it and say, you need to keep improving, especially in those areas of fundamentals throughout the course of the season. If you do that, the outcomes take care of themselves. So I think, you know, again, when you start 16-0 and you are getting everybody's best shot, there is a little bit an era of like, oh man, we don't want to lose, as opposed to we have a chip on our shoulder, right? We're coming out being the hunter instead of being the hunted. And so we've got to get that mentality, but it really comes down to fundamentals. I mean, we've got a great group, and when we play to those fundamentals and execute in those ways, we're going to play well. When we play well, a lot of nights things will go our way.
From an offensive perspective, what have you seen from your team at the free throw line over the last couple of weeks where you guys have maybe struggled or not been to the standard that you would like them to be at?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously you want to go to the free throw line and make the free throws, right? So if the question is it important to make free throws, especially on the road? It is, yes, right? If you're going to win on the road, all the margins matter. So I'm not going to, you know, we don't overanalyze and dissect. We believe a lot more in the mental toughness and the mental side of it. And so I think when we're the aggressor and how we play during the course of the game, that you'll have that same level of confidence and competitive stamina when you go to the free throw line. And I believe that we'll do a better job of converting when we get there.
Coach, what have the mannerisms, the attitudes of your guys been like the last 48 hours?
Yeah, I think we've been good. I mean, I think there's, you know, you got to have a gut check. You got to come out and you've got to play with the edge. You got to play almost like you're ticked off and you've got something to prove again. When we played and when we were playing with something to prove, we played really well. So I think that's possession by possession. That's practice by practice. It's game by game. And so I think at all times, like, you only get so many opportunities in this. And so, you know, all of a sudden things are going well, and now we're already past the midpoint of the season. And so, you know, you've got less opportunities in front of you. This tremendous sense of urgency you have with every one of those is so important. And I think our guys have shown in the things that we've done in film and in practice that they have a sense of urgency and an understanding of how important it is to get back to, you know, really playing to those fundamentals and the things that have made us successful.
TJ, how much of what you do in the summer, all the tough things you do, all the habits you seek to embed in everybody, how much is that meant to combat those types of things that can happen when you're winning all the time and you might see that little bit of slippage where it's like a little lie might pop up when you're doing stuff, and getting back to that seems to be kind of the antidote to anything.
Yeah, I think more than anything, like you talk about those things, whether it's the things we do in the summer, the soccer field, the MMA stuff, like anything that we do, we try to create a mindset to build a culture about embracing doing hard things, having a get-to mentality instead of a have-to when it comes down to doing hard things. And oftentimes when, you know, and again, the games, you're getting the outcomes in the games, there can be more distraction based on outcomes, statistics, you know, outside things of that you're looking at, instead of a continued focus on do hard things, you know, really demand that you continue to do the hard things. So it can be a distraction. And I can't say for certain if that's happened a little bit or not. I can also say when you go on the road in the Big 12, you know, you're going to be up against some challenges, and especially when you have a number next to you that says this is what you're ranked and this is what you've accomplished, you give that other team even an added form of motivation. And so I just think it's keep our focus on what we can control. We can control being great at doing hard things. If we're great at doing hard things in the games and for each other, then those outcomes tend to take care of themselves over time, whatever they may be. And look, there's going to be a time we play great in Big 12 play and we lose. It's just what's going to happen. There's great coaches, there's great programs, there's great teams the size, the length, the physicality, it is different in the Big 12 than it is in non-conference play. And so you got to fight to really do all those things to play well, and then that doesn't guarantee or enact a victory. It means you give yourself a chance, and that's what we got to do every night, is give ourselves a chance.
And what do you see in UCF, a team that not only played Arizona really tough at home, but has gone on the road and won in play?
Yeah, no, it's Coach Dawkins' best team without a doubt. I mean, he's done a great job putting their roster together. Their point guard play, I mean, with Fulks, he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's been really a catalyst for them and made so many great plays. He's scoring it well. He's making everybody better out there. With Kugel, they've got a real go-to scorer, a guy that has tremendous confidence scoring the basketball. And then, on the front line, they've got so much length, physicality, and athleticism. And they've got all older guys. A lot of their guys were in the SEC last year. The two guys that came from Milwaukee have given them a huge spark. I mean, they have a really well-constructed team, and they have a lot of confidence because of the experience that those guys have had of what they can do. So you've seen them go on the road, and I mean, you could even tell with their last game against Arizona, like they expected to win that game. You can see it in their eyes to start the game that there's an expectation that we believe we should win and can. And so it's important for us to do all the fundamental things and the hard things that we need to do to try to put ourselves in position that we can be the aggressor for the full 40 minutes.
The performances of the last two games, in terms of quality, consistency, did they feel spontaneous, or had you guys felt or seen slippage in the first three games, or even going back to the end of the non-conference?
Yeah, I would say if you look at, as we've gotten into league play, certainly, and you just went like, all right, West Virginia, they came out and played physical defensively. We were kind of on our heels, and we were fortunate to be at Hilton, and then in the second half, kind of find our stride and go from there. And then you could look at the same with Baylor. You could look at the same with Oklahoma State. There's a physicality to the game. We didn't handle it or respond to it as well right away. Figure it out after half, get our footing, all those things. And so then what happens is you put yourself in that position in Fog Allen Fieldhouse, and now you got a massive deficit to overcome that. Good luck with that. And then that same thing, again, we should have been, in a better position at half in our last game. I mean, there's opportunities we left on the table that we should have been in a better position, whether it's foul shots, whether it's other things, like we should have been in a better position than we were. And then it's a whole different mental effect if you go into the half and you're tied or you're up. I loved how we came out against Cincinnati because, there's been a lot of talk about slow starts, and we started the game with a stop. And that's what we need to focus on, right? And so I think there's certainly you're trying to say, okay, this is what's been happening. Now we have to change the course of that. When you continue to win, and there's a little bit where you can tell it could be better, it's natural for your players to be like, all right, coach, come on, man. Like, we're winning the games. Like, it is the Big 12. We're 3-0. Like, I know you're all fired up about this. And so we don't coach our guys on, hey, do it this way or else, or this is what's coming. We drive them and we build their confidence. And so I think when, you can feel regardless of what the outcome was going to be at Fog Allen or what it was going to be in Cincinnati, I think our guys recognize that now, okay, these things, sprinting back in transition has to be better. Or guarding the basketball with ball pressure to turn people over. Because if you want to look at all the analytics to it, you'd say, well, what's not happening? We're not scoring points off turnovers the last two games. What has this program been great at this year and years before? Scoring points off turnovers. So that's not, really deep analytics to figure out how do you do that. Pressure the ball, have more intensity, play harder. Big part of that is get your defense set in transition, and then that will happen. And so I think that's on one end, and then finishing plays on the glass, certainly. Keeping your opponents off second chance points, because I think for us, that's something that, again, if you look at the offensive numbers, you'd say when the offense is good, what happens? We were scoring 23 points a game in transition in non-league play. In league play, what's happening? We're scoring 13. All right, so clear, we got to pressure the ball more. Now you can look at second chance in the rebounding battle and do the same thing and say, okay, non-league, how many points are we scoring on the offensive boards? Now how many? And then it just goes from there. And I think, the great offensive teams, if that's what we aspire to be, because there's a time our offense was very elite, you need to score off your defense in transition, you need to score on second chance, and you need to convert at the foul line. And when you do those things, then all of a sudden those numbers shoot up, and everybody's like, well, you fixed the offense. Well, the half-court offense could be the same, but you're winning in all those margins, so it's elevating the offense as a whole.
In terms of the half-court offense, how much are you seeing teams pack the paint? What's that doing for the offense overall, and I guess Joshua specifically in terms of the defense swarming him when he puts the ball down?
Yeah, I think we're talking a lot about like competitive stamina, right? Which is in the possession, understanding that there was a time where we were able to score off our defense or maybe do one thing, get the ball in the paint and make the right play or make the right shot. A few things happen as you have numbers over time, and your opponents look at that and say, okay, we're going to take this play away and make you make that play. And so it's clear that there's two things I think specifically pertaining to Joshua. We've been at our best when he's been a high assist guy, right? He can count on in these games that people are going to bring second and third defenders, whether it's on the drive or at the rim. So that puts him in position where, he's an extremely intelligent young man, and he watches a ton of film, and he's a great decision maker. So it's going to put him in spots where, for passing and making plays for his teammates. And I know he trusts those guys, where he's going to put his trust there. And then I think there's also the part of the screening and getting lost in the game, so it's not so blatantly obvious. That's where you can find him on the top of the floor, dribbling with his right hand downhill. It's got to be, he's on the corners, he's in the short, roll, he's in the post, he's in the pocket. There's all these different places on the court. So for our team in general, we all have to commit to greater competitive stamina offensively, which is keep moving the ball till we get a great shot. Keep screening, keep action going, keep getting a better shot, because like the defenses in this league are really, really good, and the length is really strong at the rim. So you're gonna have to shift the defense, move the defense more, and then when you do that, it creates opportunities for offensive rebounds. So I think all those things, it's what our team needs to do and how our team needs to focus. And then I think individually, how do we all do that? Because I think it's pretty clear what we've seen from 5 league games, what we're going to be playing against defensively. It's going to be try to keep Joshua out of the paint and at the rim. Best you can, try to take away Milan's threes. The more everybody can be involved and trust everybody, and everybody feels good about their offense, the better we'll play.
With the lower generation of turnovers in the last 2 games, was it just a matter of those two opponents wisening up, or did you feel like there was an execution and communication aspect that was lacking?
I think both teams have, multiple guys that can initiate offense, right? So like both teams have 3 guys minimum that can initiate offense, which then, we got to have ball pressure at every spot, right? So some teams may have 1, and Killian's pretty good at guarding that one guy, right? And doing a great job with that. So I think part of it is the personnel of the opponents. How many guys do they have that can dribble, pass, shoot, make plays? But I think it really comes down to more, we can't control that, but we do control the level of pressure and fight and compete and desire that we put into that. And the last 2 games, certainly against Kansas, we played on our heels, credit to them, for sure, first and foremost, but we shouldn't be back on our heels. And then last game, I'd say, there were some moments that we competed, and there were some moments that we're back on our heels. So I think we're trending towards getting back to doing what we need to do, but we need to make the immediate behavioral change and say, we're a program that's going to pressure the ball. We're going to make it really hard for you to get in the paint. We're going to, create turnovers, live ball turnovers, and score off of our defense, and that will be the biggest thing that will help, put us back in position to be successful.
Nate mentioned that he felt today's practice was a return to form in terms of competitiveness, and he also mentioned that the team felt better after a meeting with you yesterday. Could you share with us what your message was, or what brought you to call that meeting together?
Yeah, I don't know if it was as much a meeting as our normal film breakdown, but in our normal, film breakdown, we're very direct in these areas, the things that we have slippage in, and that we have to understand where we can change how things are going based on the fundamentals and doing the things that we need to do. So I think it was, when you watch it, and you see it over a couple games, it becomes apparent, like, yep, this is what's happening, we need to change. And so I think that was a good thing yesterday. I think with practice, like, I'm not a big believer in like, hey, you lose, so you practice for 5 hours, and you win, you just do walkthroughs. We're pretty consistent with how we do things. But I also think when your players have a sense of urgency and the guys come out and our leaders set the tone like they've done at practice, like Taman and JJF have, when they set the tone of this is what it's going to be, and this is how hard we're going to play, and this is how we're going to share the ball, and this is how we're going to compete, then that gives a clear picture of the other guys to follow suit. And so I think in many cases, coaches, kids say this is how we're going to go about doing things. And I think every coach would say, well, when the players are more vocal, when it's more player-led, when the examples are by your best players, then everything tends to fall more in line. And I think it's more of a credit to Jay Jeff, and it's more of a credit to Taman, how they came out and practiced. And I'll just say, like, Nate Heisey had a really good day too, because he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got an edge. He's got a toughness. So a lot of guys stepped up, and we need to continue to play with that edge, that chip on the shoulder, like we have something to prove.
Coach, how do you balance that having something to prove in Big 12 play while also trying to give your guys confidence by reminding them what they did in the non-conference and not letting that outweigh that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is, like, it's great what we did in the non-league. It's awesome. Like, we're proud of it. It happened. We had some really good wins. But the Big 12 is a different animal, right? It is a different animal. And so confidence has to come from doing the hard things against the really big, physical, athletic, tough, well-coached teams, and then do it on the road as well. It's not a discredit to any of the teams we played in non-league. There's just a different level of physicality in this conference. And so we can talk about like unicorns and rainbows and candy canes and all that type of stuff. It is a backyard brawl in the Big 12. It is a physical, hand-to-hand combat league. We train and we practice that way to be successful in that environment, but we know what it is. So it is different than the non-conference play, and we need to embrace that physicality. We need to be excited about that. To me, you build confidence through doing hard things over and over and over and over and over. You don't build confidence by trying to speak it into existence, right? You do it through your actions and through your hard work. So we'll continue to work hard. We'll continue to put the time in. We have 2 months left of the regular season, and we have an opportunity every time we hit the practice floor to focus on those fundamentals, to compete like crazy and get better, and that's what we're going to focus on doing.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.